You'll never prove to the anti-Semites that we're entitled to anything, that we're even entitled to live. We're not entitled to go to university, not entitled to participate in democratic societies. We're not entitled. The whole theory of anti-Semitism is that the Jewish people have no entitlements. So it would be foolish for us to think that they would agree that we're entitled to the land of Israel. But that doesn't change the fact that there are 8 million Jews living in the land of Israel and have developed into a wondrous state, and that we intend to stay here.
Rabbi Berel Wein, born in 1934, is widely regarded as the go-to authority on Jewish history, blending scholarship and storytelling to bring the richness of the Jewish past to life. Many years ago, he made the difficult decision to abandon his legal career for the pursuit of joining the rabbinate. Today, we discuss why anti-Semitism really exists, lessons we can learn from the Jews dealing with the hate from history, and Rabbi Wein's prediction on the fate of the world in the next 10 years. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up, and enjoy the interview. Thanks again to our sponsors, BitBean, the kings of software, ready to transform your company, to Twillory, the clothing brand for men and young men, which the world is officially obsessed with, the Dream Raffle, the best way to support Israel and maybe win $1 million apartment in Jerusalem, and of course, thank you to our friends at Feldheim who have a wild 20% off sale going on now. This episode is in memory of Miriam Sarah Bas Yaakov Moshe and Shimon David and Yaakov Shlema. Here we go. I'm Yaakov Langer, and you're listening to Inspiration for the Nation. Okay, thank you so much, Rabbi Wein, for letting us in your home to have this conversation. And I know you've spoken about these topics that we're going to go through many times, but there's always a little difference in how it comes out. I wanted to ask you first and foremost, why is history, and maybe particularly Jewish history, important?
Well, Jewish history really tells us who we are. If you don't know who you are, then you got problems in the world. What's your identity? Why are you Jewish? What makes you special? If you don't know the story, so you don't know where you fit in. And I guess that is a description of a misfit. You don't fit anywhere. So with Jewish history, it teaches somebody that's born in San Diego that it didn't begin in San Diego, and that he didn't begin there, or she didn't begin there. And that there's a long, long story here. And Jewish history teaches us that we're all actors in the play. We're not the audience. We're the participants. So if you don't know any of that, it's very hard to be proud to be Jewish. It's very hard to why should I subject myself, to all the protests and all the insults, etc. What value is it? I didn't do anything. But if you know the story, so then there's a logic to it that compels us to be more than what otherwise we would be.
It's very powerful. So I want to talk to you about a few things, but I want to start off with that famous first Rashi explaining why Hashem started the Torah in Bereshis there as opposed to starting with the birth of the Jewish nation. He started from the very beginning to tell us that Israel belongs to the Jews.
Yeah, so what's your problem with that?
No problem there. Have you seen that the other historians, do they look at that Rashi? Do they appreciate that? Or they say, no, that doesn't really count as history?
I don't know. Historians is the right word. There are people who write about it, the Jewish story. So I guess that makes them historians. But every historian comes with a bias, with his own personal opinion about things. And that expresses itself in the history that he writes. Now, Rashi is not a historian. Rashi just is the supreme commentator to the Torah. And if you don't know at the outset that the land of Israel plays a pivotal role in Jewish history, and that without the land of Israel, Jewish history makes no sense whatsoever. So therefore, Rashi puts it in the forefront immediately. When Hashem created the world, and he divided the world amongst the people who would live in it, and that means over all of the centuries, the land of Israel was given to the Jewish people to be their land, and through their development in the land of Israel, they would turn out to be the blessing for all of humankind.
We're seeing a unfortunate resurgence in anti-Semitism going on now, and many of the people hating on the Jews, they don't want to have answers, but I think in the mix there's a lot of people who they don't really know. Maybe they're going with the flow. What's the most concrete thing we could respond to someone who's saying Israel doesn't belong to the Jews, and he's not coming from a place of hate. He's coming from a place of ignorance. What would you tell him?
Again, that's the first Rashi. That the Lord has divided the world and given territory to nations. Ben Gurion said a long time ago that our deed to the land of Israel is the Bible. And he was not known to be a believer, but that was an accurate statement.
Is that not a contradiction? If someone's an atheist, could they rely on the Bible?
Well, the world is full of contradictions. Every person has within himself and herself contradictory ideas. That's why we are all, so nervous. The Malatanya said we are all Beinonim. We're all in the middle. Conflicted people. That's who we are. One of the basic ideas of Judaism is that you cannot ask why. You can ask what, when, how, who. All of those are legitimate questions. Why? That's the hidden things belong to God, and what's revealed is that we have to behave ourselves. So, why? Ogden Nash had a short poem, said, "How odd of God to choose the Jews." That's true. So why did he do it? That we never figured out why. That's his will. And as long as we are human, we cannot understand and cannot appreciate the hand of heaven that guides us. But it's there. And in a practical sense, if you'll think about it, there's no nation that exists in the world today that's on territory that belonged to its ancestors centuries ago. The Muslim Arabs, they also immigrated to the land. In the 1930s, for every Jew that entered the land of Israel, under the British mandate, 2 Arabs entered. So those who are living in Tulkarm or Jenin, they have no more right to the land, according to this theory, than the Jews who live in Tel Aviv. Because 100 years ago, or 200 years ago, their family came as immigrants. And what shall we say about the United States? Or the United Kingdom? Or all of Europe? Or the Russians? So that's the first Rashi. The world is a cauldron that keeps on changing. And the Lord is divided amongst nations, amongst tribes. The land of Israel was given to the people of Israel. Now the people of Israel have earned it. They developed it. They have fought for it. They have died for it. They have treasured it. But you don't have in human history any comeback stories, at least until Trump won now. But the story of the Jewish people in the land of Israel is the greatest comeback story in all of human history. You're 1,800 years away from any sovereignty on the land. And it came back because we never felt that we left. I always remember what Shai Agnon, the Nobel Prize winner, said to the King of Sweden at the Nobel Prize award ceremony. So he said, "My name is Shmuel Yosef Agnon, I was born in Jerusalem, but by an accident of history, I was born in Plotsk. But that's the attitude. These are all accidents of history. But where were we born? Who am I? That's the land of Israel. Listen, you'll never prove to the anti-Semites that we're entitled to anything, that we're even entitled to live. We're not entitled to go to university. We're not entitled to participate in democratic societies. We're not entitled. The whole theory of anti-Semitism is that the Jewish people have no entitlements. So it would be foolish for us to think that they would agree that we're entitled to the land of Israel. But that doesn't change the fact that there are 8 million Jews living in the land of Israel and have developed into a wondrous state, and that we intend to stay here.
It's maybe difficult to do, but from a macro lens, looking back at history and seeing how everywhere we go, no matter what, for whatever reason, we're hated, is there any form of pattern where this hate for us is coming from?
I just wrote a book about the narrative of the history of anti-Semitism, beginning from our father Abraham till Columbia University. And so there are a lot of patterns. The Jews are different. The Jews deny majority faiths. The Jews are a peculiar people. The Jews are talented. The Jews are not talented. Whatever you pick. But the rabbis of the Talmud said that being a special people is a burden. Nobody likes the valedictorian in the class. So he's a nerd. And nobody likes us. We say Christianity has great morality to it, etc. But there are parts of it that we deny. The same thing is true of Islam. The same thing is true of Western culture. The same thing is true about all so-called scientific theories. Look, we just lived through the COVID. It killed millions of people in the world. Science. Follow the science. Science said that vaccine would cure it, that the social separation would cure it. It turns out all of that was nonsense, was theatrics. So why should we believe these people anymore? But we do. One was looking for experts to explain things to us. As far as I'm concerned, the experts have never been right on anything. The longevity and survival of the Jewish people throughout all of the ages is the testimony to the fact that we are special. Being special carries burdens, but it carries great rewards. And therefore, every Jew has to feel that. He is special. She is special. If you feel that you're special, so you have a sense of pride and a purpose, it becomes a hallmark of your personality. It's interesting that in certain areas of human life, we recognize that. Sports, for instance. You have to say that somebody that hit 62 home runs in a baseball season is special. How does that fit in with everybody being created equal? How does that fit in with diversity? Shouldn't we have that everybody hits 10 home runs and stops? But that's not human nature. Human nature is that certain people have certain talents, certain abilities. So Bill Gates and Elon Musk have certain talents. And therefore, they have certain rewards. So if we do that, in a general sense, the Jewish people are special. We have a certain talent, a certain morality. That's what God told Abraham. That through you, everybody else will be blessed. So we bring blessings to the world. But the fact that we have to drop bombs at others in order to survive is not our fault. It's because the inability of others to accept this notion that there are people who are special and that the world needs them, and they should be accommodated and not criticized. And I think that that's the basic to human civilization. I mean, if everybody in medical school is the same, then medicine will make no progress. In a practical sense, we all realize this. But we're overwhelmed with social and political theories, which are all unproven and mostly disproven, that govern our attitudes and behavior. So the Jewish people are special, so we'll see. We'll always remain special.
We'll be right back to the awesome conversation with Rabbi Berel Wein. But first, one of our good friends, we got Shmuel over here to tell us about the raffle of our dreams. Tell us about the Dream Raffle.
The Dream Raffle. So first, Yaakov, it's always a pleasure to be here and see you. You're a great guy. You do wonderful work.
Thank you.
But I wanted to tell you, before we go into the prize, everyone's talking about the recent ceasefire with Hezbollah, and it really is a good thing that the residents in the north could start coming home, and the businesses and the farmers. But think of all the damage that they're seeing, that they're witnessing. In some cases, it's like returning to your house after a hurricane or a tornado has ripped through the town. I'm not exaggerating. I just yesterday spoke to a farmer up north, and he said to me, Shmuel, my farm is okay, but during the months that he was away, there were wild animals that just ate all of his little trees. Wow. He has over 30,000 shekel in damage. Who is helping these guys? The answer, the Dream Raffle.
Beautiful.
And we've been helping them for a few months, and now we're going to intensify and increase our help because they really need our assistance. So the funds this year from Dream Raffle go to help the Toshavei Hatzafon, the residents of the north, the communities, the yeshivot, the farmers, the businesses, and so on. All right, what's the Dream Raffle? Dream Raffle, very simple. You buy a raffle ticket, and you can win a prize, $1 million brand new apartment in the heart of Yerushalayim. And when I say brand new, it's right now finished being built. It's a building in Givat Mordechai, right next to, very close to Shari Tzedek Hospital.
Sure.
There are 5 buildings there. 4 have already been completed and are fully populated. This is the 5th and final building. It should be finished in a month or 2 maximum before the drawing of the raffle. And this will be your brand new apartment forever in the heart of Yerushalayim, yours to keep, worth over $1 million.
And the Living L'Chaim listeners, what do they get?
Living L'Chaim. And come on, Living L'Chaim listeners. You guys are the best. And I'm one of them, by the way.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
we're talking about a few episodes.
I'm not joking. I really, really love your interviews and so on. Any case, so Living L'Chaim listeners, you put in coupon code LL and $10 automatically comes off. But if you purchase now, we're doing a double, 1 + 1. So whatever you order 1 ticket, get 2, 5, get 10, and so on. And until Chanukah, there's a $12,000 bonus raffle. We had one bonus raffle already. A guy named George Schwartz from Baltimore, Maryland won. And he could still win the grand prize. That has no bearing on that. And I said, George, now you have, if you win the grand prize, you have money to furnish the brand new apartment. So thedreamraffle.com. Remember the word thedreamraffle.com. Coupon code LL, 1 + 1, and you get also the $12,000 bonus, and you could win an apartment in the heart of Yerushalayim that'll be yours to keep forever.
All while supporting the farmers in need. Really beautiful. Everyone's a winner, but we hope that someone who listens to this actually wins.
Oh, that'll be great. I'll call you. Right after I call the win, I'll call you. I'll say, Yaakov, we did it this year. A Living L'Chaim listener won.
We have a deal. So go ahead, and we have links in the show notes. Thank you so much. And before we get back into it, I have a confession. Growing up, I loved reading Calvin and Hobbes and The Far Side. Great comics. They were hilarious, but I always wished for a Jewish version. That's why I'm so excited to tell you about Kichels 4. We have the first 3, and we got the Mishpacha Magazine's famous Kichels series. The 4th one out now. Get ready, because this is a laugh out loud collection. Takes relatable Jewish family moments like Shabbos eating, Shidduchim, all of it, and turns them into pure comedy gold. Packed with exclusive bonus content, including a behind-the-scenes look at a how-to-draw guide, deep dive into Nachi Kichel's plan for world domination. Kichels 4 is the perfect Chanukah gift for families who love to laugh together. Trust me, this one will fly off the shelves, so grab it at Feldheim.com. And this isn't just for kids, it's for adults. And it's not just for adults, it's for kids. We all love it at the Langer house, and your house will love it too, so go check it out. And what about a book for the little ones? Well, I love comics still. For your little adventurers, check out Adventures with Shlomi Eli, Treasure Island by Dan Bar-Lev. Shlomi Eli just wants to practice Achnos Sorchim like Avram Avinu, but instead he finds himself facing pirates, danger, and a mysterious treasure map. It's a thrilling journey that teaches kids about Chesed and Emunah in the most entertaining way possible. Great comic book. Looking for something deeper? Well, Rav Chaim Friedlander's Faith in Divine Providence, A Guide to Hashgacha, is back in print. This Feldheim classic drives into essential topics like miracles, nature, and the role of providence in our lives. Perfect for anyone seeking to strengthen their emunah. But wait, folks, and now through Hanukkah, you'll get 20% off on all English titles now at Feldheim.com. So stock up on these incredible books for Hanukkah, gifts that inspire, entertain, and last a lifetime. Shop now at Feldheim.com or your local Jewish bookstore. Oh, and if you'd like to join our WhatsApp book club for exclusive giveaways and sick promos, click on the link in the show notes. We'd love to see you there. Now back to this week's episode.
Based on your knowledge and experience with history, what do you anticipate is going to happen? And I know it's like no one's a Navi today, but what do you anticipate is going to happen in the next 50 years?
You can't afford to pay me for the answer. It's unpredictable. You don't know what's going to be in the next 50 hours.
But if you ask me what's going to happen in the next 50 years, and I don't have even a 1%.
Well, I'll tell you one thing.
Okay.
That is, if you know Tanakh, you have a glimmer of what's going to happen. For instance, you can better understand the story of Shimshon and the Plishtim and Gaza today when we're back in Gaza and we're facing the same problems. So the Tanakh is a searchlight on current events. King David went to Lebanon to conquer it. Why did he go there? Why did we go to Hezbollah? Why all the ups and downs? So if you know Tanakh, you can certainly deal with the current situation in a much more sanguine fashion. You're not blindsided by what happens. I don't know what it'll be 50 years from now. If anybody would have told me 50 years ago what then the next 50 years would bring, I would say they're crazy. Who knows? Maybe we'll have a Chabad on Mars. Could be. Everything could be. Maybe, who knows? The world can destroy itself too. So it's risky to predict the future. And most of the time, the predictions are not true. They're not accurate. Because the predictions are based upon what we want to happen. So it's an expression of personal choice, okay. But who says that that's what heaven has decreed? So I'm sanguine about the future. I didn't see that in my family I would see so many generations of fine young people, religious, scholarly, learned, moral. I'm blessed. I didn't see that when I started out. I started out as an only child with 100 friends on the block in Chicago, and I was the only Sabbath observant there. So what future was there for me? So again, what it says in the Torah, that's what hidden leave hidden. The Gemara says, "Bahari de kamshe rachmona lo malach." Things that heaven has hid from you, then leave it alone. Stupid predictions. You deal with the present. Do the best that you can. But it's always based upon the past experience. And if you have no past experience, if you have no idea what has been going on, so you're really at a disadvantage.
When you were growing up, that recent history with World War II and that open hate for the Jewish people was there. And then throughout your life, I imagine it settled down. Things, I don't know if it actually was more peaceful, but it definitely seemed more peaceful. And now we're seeing that spike again, and not to the same extent as World War II, in different ways. What do you say about that? I guess shift. I mean, someone like me, I grew up with it being relatively safe to be a Jew and not get as much hate, but we're seeing that rise, and it's scary.
It's the effect that the Holocaust is 80 years old. The sense of shame has departed. But yet the world always looks for scapegoats. They look for someone to blame it on. There are lots of problems in the world. So you have to blame it on somebody. The Jews have been a likely scapegoat for millennia. Because again, we're too special. There's no question that cultural war, which is what we exist in, that Jews would be singled out because we're always the naysayers in history. And we're going to be the naysayers here too. So for us, a boy is a boy and a girl is a girl. That's not popular. Most of the time, hatred comes to those who are telling the truth. That's why totalitarian societies are based on destroying those who tell the truth. Because the truth unmasks the evil that drives people. I tell you, the basic difference is a simple one. The secular person in the world, in secular society generally, believes that people are born good and that if you let them alone, they'll always do good. And the reason they do bad is because external forces, poverty, they grew up with poor parents, whatever. That's what makes a criminal. But the basic idea is the criminal is good. Judaism says the basic idea is that people are bad. People are created evil. And unless you educate and discipline and create a better system of behavior, people, one person will swallow the next. So that's a fundamental difference in worldview.
Would all Jews agree with that? I feel like the Baal Shem Tov would argue with that, no?
No, the Baal Shem Tov would not argue with that. The Baal Shem Tov also believes that everybody is bad. But he believes that you can make them good. Everybody believes that. All of Torah is based on the fact that you can take bad people and make them good people. That's Nasev and Ishma. We're going to take bad people and make them good people.
Philosophically, though, isn't meaning if we're a part of Hashem, we're our neshama, isn't that good? How does that work?
Again, you're asking why.
I mean,
you tell me that Hitler and Himmler and 50 million Germans were basically good, or that Stalin and Mao killed 80 million people, but they're basically good. I don't believe that. They're examples of what people are if there is no discipline, if there is no education, if you leave it to the human beings alone. This is what you get. You get Putin. You get Chairman Xi. I think that's one of the basic lessons here. And I think it's one of the basic fallacies of Western society. That's why we put more effort into the criminal than into the victim. We're more interested in the migrant than in the citizen. We got it all backwards. We want to make the 0.5% of human society that believes something, want to make them comfortable at the expense of the 99.5% who are uncomfortable. That's not Judaism. There are lots of Jews who believe this stuff, but you should never confuse Jews with Judaism.
In these parshas that we're going through every week, we're seeing a very quick snippet of evil societies, whether it's the people with Noach during the flood who are very immoral, or the people who are trying to build the Tower of Babel, or the people of Sodom who, when you're a kid and you're reading and you're being taught it, you're like, how are these, they seem crazy. They seem so bad, but
just look around.
So that's my question. Are we, if someone was learning about us in 1,000 years, would they be like, oh, it's so clear how corrupt things are?
Maybe. Depends how corrupt they are 1,000 years from now.
What would you say is the worst corruption going on today?
Secularism.
What's that?
The belief that man, in its general sense, has all the solutions. and that there is no moral compass except for what human beings decide to be moral. It's the greatest corruption. The people in Stone, they voted for it. They were happy with it. They thought it was a great idea. Why should they share their bread with strangers? And it's also conformity. Whenever you have conformity, you have problems. It's a problem in the Jewish world, conformity. I don't deny it.
In what way?
Everybody has to dress a certain way. Everybody has to vote a certain way. Everybody has... Now, the wonderful thing about Judaism is that it's so fractured that it's hard to get conformity. As long as the Chassidim have 50 different Rabbis, so it's good. They can work. There'd be one Rebbe, would be a problem. In the yeshiva world, there'd be only one yeshiva, you'd have a problem. But there's so many, so there's room for everybody. And that's true in everything. And that's why the Lord, I can't speak for heaven, but we were created 12 tribes. But that's a sure recipe for being nonconformist. The people of Zvulun supported and understood the people of Yisachar, but they were not the same people. And they were not meant to be the same people. And that was the blessing that our father Jacob gave us, and that Moshe Rabbeinu, our teacher, gave us, that we would all be different. And so therefore that's to be celebrated. People keep on talking about unity. They don't mean unity, they mean conformity.
This might be a hard question for you particularly. If there's one point in history, if you could transport to that time of the Jewish people, where would you transport yourself to?
I was there already, the revival of the Jewish people after the Holocaust. People don't realize what a miraculous experience that we went through. I mean, I remember what the Jewish world looked like in 1946. The Jew couldn't raise one's head. I would imagine that all of us were present at Sinai, so we have that experience within us. But I think we live in miraculous times, and have seen miraculous things over and over again. And the words of the rabbis are true. Ein balanes makir beniso. Somebody who experiences miracles doesn't recognize it. Oh, he thinks, he thinks it's okay, So you shot 350 missiles. Well, okay, we shot them all down. Okay. The world doesn't work that way. I'm perfectly happy to be in my skin and in my time. And I think that that's what the rabbis meant. Dor v'dor shod. Everybody lives in their own generation. And nostalgia for the past is not necessarily a good recipe. And the realization that we should all have that good intentions do not always result in good results takes more than that. The truth that we all know Mencken's famous phrase that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. We've seen that over and over again. But all the government programs over the past 100 years that have destroyed the people whom they meant to help. So the answer is double down on it. But that seems to me to be pretty silly.
The most pivotal moment in our conversation is coming up, but we'll be right back. But first, let's talk about BitBean, the software company that helps businesses get clearer. What does that mean? When you're running a business, things can get messy, processes overlap, inefficiencies creep in, and you're left wondering how to keep everything moving smoothly. That's where BitBean comes in. They don't just build software, they help you see your business clearly. BitBean's process is built on transparency. They dive deep, asking tough questions to uncover what's really holding you back. It's not about what you think you need, it's about what's going to move your business forward. By challenging assumptions and analyzing your operations, BitBean creates custom solutions that simplify your workflow, cut out inefficiencies, and make your team unstoppable. Whether you're in real estate, healthcare, or any industry, BitBean helps you stop running in circles and start moving forward with confidence. Their approach ensures that every part of your operation is clear, connected, and working for you, not against you. So if you're ready to take your business to the next level, visit bitbean.com. BitBean is about clarity, transparency, and innovation tailored to your success. Let them help you see and achieve your potential. Now, let me tell you, I was just in Israel, as you can see, interviewing Rabbi Wein, and I got stopped so often, not because of anything about the podcast. People loved Twillory, whether I was rocking their coat, their vest, their shirts, their suit, pants, everything. And when I was there, my friend told me he stocked up on 2 air suits and 10 shirts, and he paid a ridiculously low price. On top of that, he used my code INSPIRE for an extra $18 off his first order. That's a crazy deal for clothes with high quality. And yeah, there's still a bunch of sales going on, so get what you can. Twillory's clothing is literally from the year 3000. Well, not literally, but it's durable, comfortable, and stylish. Their air suit, it's like wearing a luxury pajamas to a wedding. And their shirts, they don't wrinkle, pill, or fade even after years. I know because I've been wearing Twillory for over 6 years, and I'm obsessed. Every day, there's a new sale happening at Twillory.com, so go check them out. Use code INSPIRE for $18 off your first order. Upgrade your wardrobe, and thank me later. Now back to this week's episode.
Is there a story that you've heard, you've seen, you read? It could be that it happened in your lifetime. It could be it happened 500 years ago. That gives you chizuk, that gives you strength.
The Tanakh. The Tanakh records for us all of the ups and downs of life.
But what particularly, for you personally, what do you read and you say, like, this gives me hope? This helps me not give up.
I mean, again, it's my own personal experience. I forget, I started out as a lawyer in Chicago because I felt that there was no future in the Orthodox rabbinate in America.
What made you shift?
To put it mildly, I was not happy.
What gave you the courage to jump into Orthodox rabbi?
Being married to the right woman. When I switched, she said, now you'll be happy. I'll be happy. The children will be happy. She was right. The first year that I was a rabbi, my salary was less than the income tax I paid the last year I was a lawyer.
Wow.
But I never looked back. I mean, being a lawyer for 9 years gave me great experience. I got to know human beings, which is essential. To be a rabbi is not only to know books, you have to know people. But I think that was a great lesson. And because of that, I think I was more effective than otherwise I would have been. I always said that if it were up to me, I would take every member of the kollel that wants to be a teacher and that wants to be a rabbi, wants to be in Jewish public life, and for the first few years of his life, give him a job in the business world. Then he would understand the clientele. He would understand what life is about. But if you're coming out of the kollel, and so it's very hard to be able to really affect people because you're not in their skin, you're not in their shoes, you don't know what they want. You don't have that. You don't have the experience of coming home Friday afternoon after a hard week of work, and the rabbi says he's going to have a class Friday night. You don't realize the challenge that's involved in that, because the rabbi, he's going to have the class. Am I going to go to the class? Am I going to benefit from it? Will I fall asleep in the middle? Life is not simple.
What advice would you have for someone who's thinking of maybe not as drastic of a change, but as you know, in America, having stuff, making money, maybe that's derived from Esav, being in this world, it's the ultimate. And sometimes, unfortunately, we get swooped up in that. So any average American, just to be a frum Jew is so expensive, but so to say that, someone's going to give up such a big salary to do something maybe they love, which it makes sense on, when you think about it, like, wouldn't you want to spend the time doing what you actually want to do? What advice would you have for them?
Every person's an individual. There are people who can make switches and there are people who can't. You have to know yourself. Basically, my theory in life is that it depends upon the woman and the family, not so much upon the man. Because the woman is the home. She's the structure. Many times you're asking the wrong person. My Rebbe used to say, when they interview you and they say, why do you want to be a rabbi? They should interview your wife and say, why do you want to be a Rebbitzin? Because if she doesn't want to be a Rebbitzin, you're going to have problems. Those are all individual decisions. They're not, you cannot paint everyone with the same brush. But I do think that life experience is a great asset. And it helps put things into perspective. The expense of tuition and other obligations of being an Orthodox Jew is the greatest challenge to Orthodox society. Need it be like that? I want to imagine that there could be other solutions to the problems of the Jewish education. But Zemashiach, so we have to deal with it.
Did you ever think that in your lifetime, as many Jews as there are now are living in Israel?
It didn't look that way in 1946. But, that's one of the miracles. I always say the Ponevezh Rav told me that Ben-Gurion said to him when there were 3 million Jews in the country, he said to him, Rebbe, we need 5 million Jews. Where are they going to come from? And the Ponevezh Rav said to him, they'll come from the Soviet Union. So Ben-Gurion said to him, isn't it more likely that they'll come from America? So he said, no, because heaven always does the smaller miracle first. And he was right. You got 1 million Jews from the Soviet Union. And that was built, really, the society that we have now. The American Jews are starting to come. I think the future of the Jewish people is undoubtedly the state of Israel. How it's going to play out, I don't know. But I never thought there'd be 8 million Jews in the state of Israel. But you can't make predictions about the state of Israel or the Jewish people, because it's all beyond us.
Is there a person from your life that you would like to, well, obviously you would like to, but you would, if you had the opportunity to spend an hour with, to ask them for advice or ask them questions, who would that person be?
Aside from my family, my grandfather was a tremendously wise person who's been an inspiration to me all my life. My father, my mother. But aside from that, among people that I knew, well, there are a number of people that fit that bill.
You could do a few. It's okay.
Rabbi Alexander Rosenberg, who built kashrus in America through the OU, was a tremendously wise and efficient person, and in a field that was prone to corruption, made it noble and moral. And then the Ponevezh Rav was an enormous wellspring of common sense. Simple common sense, which is often lacking, even in religious leaders. And Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, who brought such enormous depth to understanding Jewish life and biblical scripture in a simple and direct way. These are all great people. And when you know them, so perhaps you don't even realize how great they are until they're not there anymore. I think that's what Chazal meant. They said, Tzadikim b'misosam, Yosem b'chayayim. I didn't realize who the Ponevezh Rav was until I didn't have him anymore. Or Yaakov, or any of them.
Could you share a story with maybe the Feldheim Rav or Rabbi Yaakov that happened with you personally?
Well, my favorite story was Rabbi Yaakov. I've told this story many times. I drove Rabbi Yaakov one summer day. We were going to a wedding in New York. So we drove from Muncie to New York. And we came to the George Washington Bridge. And there was maybe a 25-minute wait to pay for the toll. This is before Easy Pass and all the modern conveniences. You had to give the guy money, and he had to give you change. It was a hot day. The air conditioning in the car was not superb. And we finally got up to the toll booth. So I gave the guy a $20 bill. And I think the toll then was $12 or something. And he had to give me change. He gave me change, and I pulled out to get on the bridge. And Rabbi Yaakov leaned over and he said to me, Rabbi Wein, he said, you forgot to say thank you. You didn't say thank you to the guy for giving you the change. That's a lesson. Somebody gives you correct change, say thank you. He's got a terrible job there all day. And the heat. Be nice to him. Don't treat him like he's a piece of wood. That was a very effective lesson for me. I remember it all my life. I try to say thank you now on a regular basis, except to those who interview me.
What about with Ponevezh Rav? Do you have a story with him?
Well, the famous story that he told me many times is that Ponevezh Yeshiva, until today, flies the Israeli flag on its roof on Yom Ha'atzmaut. So he told me that when he first did it. So he said the moral squad in Bnei Brak came to visit him. They said, how do you do that, So he said to me, what I told him, Rabbi Wein? I said, no, Rabbi, what did he tell him? I told him that in Lithuania, on Lithuanian Independence Day, the yeshiva flew the Lithuanian flag from the roof of the yeshiva. He said, it's not worse here. That's a great lesson. It's not worse here. Take it easy. See things in perspective. They were great people, They rebuilt the Jewish people. Maybe 10 Jews rebuilt the Jewish people after the Shoah. I was fortunate to know them. And I think that's an important idea.
I'm going to end off with this. What's your message for the Jewish people?
Be Jewish. Be proud of it. Educate your children in it. It's your purpose in being on this universe. Don't be sidetracked by false issues. I was mentioned that in 1937 or 38, the Reform movement had in its Yom Kippur service a prayer for the coal miners in West Virginia, which at that time they thought was really relevant. And you look at it today, you laugh. Don't be relevant. Be eternal. That's the challenge we face.
Rabbi Wein, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Jewish people have faced a tough past, but no matter how dark it seems, we stay strong and preserve. That's the message we want you to take with you. So leave the word strong in the comments or what you feel about this episode. And stay tuned. Something big is coming very soon, and we're so excited to tell you about it. Remember, don't be relevant, be eternal. Such a powerful quote. We're even thinking about putting it here in L'chaim Studios. Thanks again to Twillory. Use code INSPIRE on their awesome clothes. Thank you, BitBean. Join the revolution and get your software updated. Thank you to the Dream Raffle. Use code LL, and maybe you'll win this year a brand new gorgeous apartment. And thank you, Feldheim. Check out my favorite, the Kichels 4, Avengers Shlumi, and of course, Faith and Divine Providence. And get 20% off on Feldheim.com now through Chanukah. Please share this episode with someone who loves Rabbi Wein or someone who loves to see how the Jewish people, no matter what we go through, we don't give up. What's crazy to think about is you, me, all of us, we're all part of this essential moment in history. Recognize it, be proud of it, and spread the Torah light. Remember, inspiration is everywhere. L'chaim. Living L'chaim.